What the hell?
Just
A
these
sleeping
big-
dragon doing his thing, and he looks pretty good.
Hiccup comes riding in on Toothless, flying over the crowd.
Singing, so if you care to find me, look to the western
That's
skies.
the first act of Wicked. It's pretty incredible.
Who's that? Toad flipping you off?
What is that? That's an Easter egg, baby. Now, the lore here was that Igor claimed to have built me. I was one of his monsters. And he was like, you come back, I give you a new mustache.
Welcome back to the Breakroom, everybody. Brandon and I are here. Welcome back, Brandon Barrick.
I'm happy to be back. I've been going through what they call Paris syndrome, but it's Epic Universe syndrome. I went to Epic Universe and it shook me so hard to my core, I just couldn't leave the house anymore.
Well, we're glad to have you back. I'm Erik Voss. I'm also back. I also went to Epic Universe, and it also changed my life. We are here streaming on YouTube, on Twitch. You may be watching us after the fact, but we're going to be answering any question you might have.
Any question. Friday free for all.
It's a full grab bag. So if you have questions about, say, Fantastic Four First Steps, or Marvel not doing a Hall H panel this year at Comic-Con, breaking news, or any of the casting rumors we've seen, any news about, let's say, Lilo and Stitch, about Superman.
I just rewatched for maybe the 9th time The Martian on an airplane. If you got questions about that, I got fresh thoughts on The Martian. I also have a lot to say about Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. And I just want to say off the bat that it's awesome, and the haters are wrong, and they don't understand the movie. That's all I'm going to say.
You don't need to listen to the haters.
I
think they were never going to give it a chance.
I was skeptical going in, and I like what they did with it. It transcends Mission Impossible movies.
Wow.
Which is what I think the franchise needed.
What does that mean, it transcends Mission Impossible?
I think that the opening act of the movie, it speed runs a Mission Impossible movie and says, like, this is what you think you're going to see in this movie. We're not doing that. We're going beyond. I think Ethan Hunt now sees the Matrix Code, and it's all different now. He is the one. He is the one.
All right, I still have not had a chance to see it. I've had kind of a busy week on my end. What Brandon and I are going to be doing throughout this episode, though, is sharing with you the journey we went on to Orlando, Florida.
Yes.
We were privileged to be invited by our friends at Universal Destinations and Experiences, the resorts team, the Orlando team, to the big opening of Epic Universe. Now you may be asking, the hell are they talking about? Epic Universe is the technically fourth Universal park in the Orlando area. It just opened in the past week.
May 22nd was its opening day. We were fortunate enough to be there 2 days before that, the 20th and the 21st.
Yes.
When they were doing media previews.
Yes, and they were doing some previews just for smaller, limited crowd-sized audiences in the months leading up to it. Universal opened Universal Studios in the early 90s, opened Universal Islands of Adventure at Second Park in 1999, opened Volcano Bay, which is a water park, when?
That's a great question.
Sometime.
A couple years ago, I think.
Yeah,
it's
not
pretty
too long
recent.
ago. Yep. And then so Epic Universe is their fourth. Now, Universal also announced that they're going to be opening a park in the UK in the next few years. So they're really expanding. And some context on this is that Universal, we think, funded Epic Universe in part by an influx of cash that they got from Disney buying out their stake of Hulu.
Buying out Comcast's stake of Hulu.
Yes, so Comcast, NBC, Universal are all one company, one big media conglomerate.
Volcano Bay opened in 2017.
There you go.
Fact check.
It's been open for 8 years or so. So this launch of a new park is historic. It is a big deal. Universal hasn't opened many of these.
Right.
Disney hasn't opened many new parks. They opened California Adventure, and that's really, other than Animal Kingdom, the Orlando resorts, they opened new attractions. But to open a whole new park is historic.
It's been about like 20 years since like a big theme park had opened in the U.S.
Yeah. So, Brandon and I, as part of our coverage of all things entertainment, movies, streaming, TV. We're trying to get more into gaming. We're also recognizing that parks and experiences are a big part of how these companies make their money, and it does affect what type of movies they make. So we could even see as we were going through their parks, like, oh, they're definitely going to be doing a movie franchise based off of this. They're going to they're going to be trying to be doing more of this, and then the people they're partnering with are obviously going to be trying to do more of X or Y. So that's why we were keen to get a look at this park and to see how many Easter eggs we could find and just get a sense of what narrative priorities they have. Because after Pirates of the Caribbean in 2001, 2004, 2003, that completely changed
the game.
The film industry, right? Like, this was just something that was purely just a ride that they were able to turn into a $1 billion movie franchise. So ever since that's completely changed the game for all of these companies to try to make these both things that you can visit and things that you can watch, and to really try to one-up themselves and each other with how immersive they can make it. And kind of the headline I could put on this is, those bastards did it with Epic Universe.
It's wild.
It is wild. And look, we weren't paid any kind of... We weren't compensated with any kind of like, hey, paid to do this review. And we'll talk about some gripes we had too. Yeah.
I might be drinking out of a DK barrel mug, but I was not paid.
But they did. We should say full disclosure. They did put us up in a hotel.
We stayed at the Stella Nova.
Which
I think if you were tapped into the parks, tapped into like park bloggers, had a rocky opening. But I had a nice time staying there. No issues with the lights turning on in the middle of the night. None of that. My water was hot and flowing.
They also covered our entry to the park for 2 days. There were certain food items that were free to us. Other things that we would pay for if we wanted it.
And I will acknowledge, we were in the parks with maybe 800 other media.
Yeah.
We were all in the same land at the same time. We were only given like limited access. But it was a unique experience in that, like, it was not a full capacity situation.
Right.
We got on rides relatively quickly.
And then so as I was walking through these parks, I was tempering my reaction to it with, okay, but would I be okay with standing in this line for 2.5 hours? Maybe.
Some of them we didn't get to see enough of the line. We were moving too quick.
Before we we have a lot of pictures and video that we recorded that we're going to be sharing with you as kind of a slideshow and kind of taking you on a tour through our experience and talking about what we saw, what Easter eggs we found. Before we get to it, we do see that we have some questions come in here, and we really appreciate everyone who's joining us through a live stream. I saw this super chat from the Cooper B. Thank you so much for your super chat asking, what are y'all's thoughts on how Marvel kind of said they haven't finished releasing the Phase 6 slate? Should they just drop the phases system? I didn't see this quote, the Cooper B. But I agree with you. I think phases are over and we're now just in sagas. And I believe Kevin Feige has said they're not as interested in phases as they are just calling this the multiverse saga and after this the mutant saga.
Yeah, that makes more sense. I like that idea. And I think it gives them a little more leeway as release dates will change as they keep going.
Yeah.
I think calling it a saga makes more sense. And we don't want to get in a situation where we're in phase 22. Right, that's going
to sound weird. So just call it whatever the theme of the phase is.
We also want to shout out over on Twitch, Marky Bark 9520, 9-month sub. Love to see it. Christian Unpronounceable giving out 5 gift subs.
Hey, thanks, man.
Thank you, Christian Unpronounceable. Good to see you again. Savian Blanc 24-month sub. 2 years. 2 years I've been waiting to go to Epic Universe. Incredible. Brad Stevens over on our YouTube sending in a super chat. Do you think Nova's ever going to happen?
No.
No.
I mean, I think it will be after Doomsday Secret Wars, but like 5 years away.
I think Alex Perez over at Cosmic Circus did a little AMA, and he was saying that like that could still be a situation of characters both in TV and a Marvel movie. Because they were asking, is TV and movies going to be totally separate in Marvel going forward? And they were like, no, I think you can still see crossovers like that.
I think they're going to wait to see how people respond to Silver Surfer.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll do like, I've heard rumors of an Annihilators movie that could have Silver Surfer, Beta Ray Bill, maybe Phyla Zen, some of these other characters on the cosmic side of the MCU. In that case, maybe Nova fits in with that story. But
here's a question from Twitch, too, that we were talking about in the office today. Bonnery52 asking, is it true that the F4 end credit was leaked?
Okay, so what I think
We're not gonna talk. We're not gonna say what.
we're not
going
gonna
to
say what it is, but yeah, there was a test screening we think for Fantastic Four First Steps that happened in the LA area this week, and there was one source who went on Viewer Anon's Discord and answered a bunch of questions, and I think that was a legitimate source. There was a different source that leaked. We don't know if this is real, but just said a description of the post-credit scene, and I don't know. I believe the source that was on ViewerAnon that was just kind of giving their reactions to the movie, but didn't spoil anything from the plot. I don't know. I take it with a grain of salt. This other thing that's out there. I don't know. It sounds like the kind of fan fiction-y thing that you read a lot of different things about, and I don't know.
Listen, folks, and we're in the end game right now. Okay, for Fantastic Four. And if you're worried about spoilers, you're worried about leaks, you're going to have to disengage a little bit from the online discussion around it. You know what I mean? We'll always give warnings here. We tend to not release plot details or rumor leaks around that kind of stuff. You're just going to have to be careful out there, because if you're tapped in, you're gonna run across it.
Yeah,
you know
I think at this point you got to be looking for it to see it.
And everyone's guessing. Everyone's out there shooting their shot. And you don't know, someone's going to guess right sometimes, too.
We'll take one more question before we get into our Epic Universe journey. Okay. Saif Rasul, thank you for your super chat on the YouTube chat. Do we think Marvel will be sprinkling an X-Men here and there prior to Doomsday, or will Doomsday be the definitive debut of the X-Men? I don't think Avengers Doomsday will be the definitive debut of the X-Men of the Mutant Saga.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're going to see the OG X-Men.
Old X-Men,
But I do think in Secret Wars, we'll see... like part of Battle World might be the Avengers campus from another universe that could have a new cast of X-Men in there.
Do you think the rumors of them making those kind of casting of X-Men right now are true? Or do you think that's all just like agents getting their people's name out there?
Yes.
And of course Marvel has names on a wall, you know what I mean? Like
I think they call it the casting grid. I think there are casting grids that have like 12 different names for a single role. And then every single one of those names represents a new tweet that My Time to Shine Hello can say with graphics that gives them another news cycle of engagement. And as soon as you can just say any name for Professor X, and then, it's technically all true, because I'm sure Marvel Studios is looking at like 12 to 20 different people for that role.
Right. But I agree that I think Doomsday will be mostly old X-Men that we've seen before from the previous Fox universe. Wrap that up. Maybe show us some new ones.
But in terms of the sprinkling in that the person was asking about, I think Kamala Khan is an example.
No more. He's a mutant.
Wiccan, Billy...
Crudup.
Yeah. Well, I just don't know what they settled on was his last name in the MCU.
Oh, that's
he was
true.
Kaplan before, but Billy Maximoff. Anyway, he'll be another mutant. Franklin Richards, a new mutant. I think we'll see some people who have already been established, but I don't think you're going to see like a Sunspot in the background or Kitty Pryde in the background until we get closer.
They'll say that.
All right, so we're going to take you back through what we experienced, and we'll answer some super chats and some other Twitch messages a bit later in the show. So Brandon and I traveled to Orlando. We stayed at the Stella Nova. The first night, they kind of did like a reception at the new Grand Helios. I don't have pictures of that. I might have a picture of that, but it's not interesting to look at. It's just a really nice hotel that we didn't stay at, but there was like a reception there where they had the CEO of Parks and Destinations and Experiences.
And Lowe's Hotel CEO was there.
Yeah.
And I think his son was there too.
Yeah. So it was just kind of a goofy thing.
And that hotel is attached to Epic Universe.
Yeah.
If you stay in that hotel, you can go right into the park. Very similar to how the Grand California Hotel works at Disney California Adventure.
Yeah, but that hotel ain't cheap.
Not cheap.
They didn't put us there. No. Maybe next time. We'll go next time.
There's a beautiful bar on the roof, a lovely sit-down restaurant.
Yeah. So from there, they just kind of did like a thing where they took all the media in different groups through islands, just parts of Islands of Adventure, then parts of Universal Studios, but it was something that like we were the only two in the group who hadn't been to any of those things because we're not in the Orlando area, but pretty much everyone we were with are Orlando folks. So they were just like, I've been through Gringotts before. And I'm like, wait, can we stop and like look at all this stuff?
I know, we barely got to see the main room in Gringotts where all the goblins are working. There are all these animatronics. Looks very cool, looks beautiful. Saw the big dragon on top spitting fire.
I didn't know the dragon spit fire.
We literally we got on a plane at Our flight took off at like 7 in the morning.
Uh-huh.
Flew the 5 hours to Orlando. Get off the plane. It's 97 degrees, 88% humidity.
Yeah.
We're like, what are we doing? We get on a shuttle bus. They shuttle us to the hotel. We check in. Then we sit at this reception where they're talking. They gave us an Aperol Spritz. We're like, hi, how you doing? We see a lot of our friends in the kind of media industry.
Uh-huh.
We talk to all of them. Then they put us in the groups. And then they're going. And then we're put on Hagrid's motorbike ride, which neither of us had been on.
Uh-huh.
Right before the ride starts, our VIP tour guide was like, you all know the story, right? And everyone in our group was like, yeah. And we're like, we don't know the story. And she was like, what? She was disgusted that we had never been on the ride before.
No, I think she was just shocked.
She was shocked.
Because everyone else in our group are people that like are there all the time.
And we don't know what this ride is. They're shuttling us on as they're doing it. She's like, Hagrid's got a new creatures showing to the class. You're a magical creatures class. And things go wrong.
And things go wrong as they always do. And I'm like, but how do they go wrong?
First person's on the motorbike, next person's in the cab or the sidecar. And we're like, oh, do you want to sit? So I sat on the motorbike.
I was in the sidecar.
There's a little tiny seatbelt that goes on. And this thing was a lowercase r roller coaster, I would say. It was a fast ride that does not go upside down. But we had no idea what was going on. It was so hot. Even though the sun's setting, it was so warm. We're getting blasted with hot air. We're so tired. But it was a cool ride. I gotta say, we're not even talking about Epic yet.
I know, we haven't gotten to
Epic.
Epic. And then so we were taking pictures of everything and gushing about it. Brandon's like, that's not why they have us here. And I'm like, but I'm so amazed.
Yeah.
They so here's the deal. Brandon and I both come from Florida.
Right.
That's where we met in college. We're Florida stock. So a lot of people are like, oh, you're outsiders. And I want to be like, no, we're native sons. Like, we grew up going to these parks all the time.
They tore down my beloved Jaws ride to build this stuff.
They tore down the Nemo ride and turned into a show. It turned into American Idol experience bullshit. Now that's not even there.
Yeah.
But so we had to kind of like prove ourselves a little bit to be like, we were here before you guys were here, and then you guys, I don't know. But everyone we met was lovely. Yeah. Honestly, everyone we talked to, we met some people from MuggleNet who were just wonderful. Lori was so sweet. And then we talked to, we made some lifelong friends from CBR.
Oh, yes.
Nick and Caroline.
Friends from CBR. Yeah. We talked to people who worked for all different like outlets and a lot of people who had their own YouTube channels where they always are breaking down park vlogs. We talked to travel agents who were like, I've done 100 of these things. They'd seen it all, baby. But everyone was so nice and excited. Everyone was very thrilled. And some of the people who were there, they'd already been to Epic like 10 times. You know what I mean? Because they had been doing, you could buy a ticket, guests could buy a ticket and go to the previews for the park. But this was like the grand opening week.
Do you know who was not happy and not excited?
Who was not happy?
Well, when Brandon and I were first brought into Hogsmeade, look, it was one of these classic Florida days where
this was a regular person who was just at
a normie,
who was just at Universal Studios with his
at the end of his rope.
Oh yeah,
and look, I'm telling you, as a park goer every year, I had friends who worked at the park. I had a cousin who would always get us in free, and my sister and I would have like bingo cards for this. Because it's one of these classic Florida days where it's supposed to rain in the afternoon, but it doesn't. So the humidity just cakes and cakes and cakes and ferments. And you get into the evening hours, and even though the sun goes down, it's still like 95 degrees, 80% humidity, as you said, and people are just at the end of the rope. And as soon as we go into Hogsmeade, it's the most beautiful, splendid thing.
It's winter time. There's snow on the roof.
A dad, we don't even see, just rounding the corner. Dad, we don't know what they were talking about, turns to his daughter,
maybe
sister-in-law, and just goes, "Shut up!" At the top of his
screamed at her.
And we jumped. And I think the other the other people in our group were like, that's another Monday.
Just another hot day in Florida. I was afraid it was a Halloween Horror Night situation. I was gonna get a fake chainsaw and then a sparker on the ground. Whatever they call it.
So if you go to parks all the time in the summer, that's
People break down.
Okay, so we see the Universal stuff. We grab some dinner, go to bed. They have us up early for this because what they've done is they've shut down the park just for media, but they only open up parts of the park.
Yeah.
So just two different parts, one part in the morning, one part in the afternoon. And then we found out later that it was open to friends and family, VIP, famous people for the rest of the day. We were not in that group.
They kick us out.
They get us out of there.
Walk around as much as he wants.
They call us enemy of the people. Enemy of the people as we leave. Hey, DeSantis was there the closing night. But so let's talk about the first day.
Tuesday morning.
We
6
go.
a.m.
We go into, there's like a media tent, and then they take us in to the first part that they're opening, the Isle of Berk.
Yes.
From How to Train Your Dragon.
Yes.
Both the animated version, the 3 movies that came out in 2010 and onward, and then now the new live action one that is dropping this month.
Yes. And if you're not familiar with the layout of Epic Universe, as a park goer, you will walk into the Kronos portal, which will take you into Celestial Park, which is the central area.
Yes.
And then there are 4 lands that are hubs off of this central area, and you walk through portals into each of those lands. Very intricately designed, beautiful portals.
Yes, the portals have kind of like a steampunky, almost like Guardians of the Galaxy Flash Gordon type aesthetic.
Celestial Park is kind of Mediterranean gods and goddesses. They're not Roman, they're not Greek. They're just Mediterranean.
It's kind of, it's this weird kind of like crossroads, this crossroads
There's
through
this
the multiverse.
Gorgeous fountain in the center. There's a carousel that is, it breaks comprehension because they're not on a circular thing like that. The ride vehicles just pivot and dance throughout the center as they want with glowing orbs on top of them. Just gorgeous stuff.
So we go up to the Isle of Berk portal. Greeting us is a saint named Solaris.
Solaris.
We don't know who Solaris is.
She's the queen of Celestia.
She's the queen. She is a Celestian.
Yes.
Not a Celestial. She's a Celestian. That's the name of the people who live in this park and work there. We don't know what the government structure is.
No.
But it sounds like it's a monarchy. Constitutional? We don't know.
Yeah.
But she greets us. She has this wonderful speech. Fireworks go off. And then Toothless comes out, and he gives his whole speech.
Is this Toothless?
No, that's Hiccup.
Are you doing Hiccup?
But Hiccup and Toothless come out, and the puppetry for Toothless is sick. The actor they get for Hiccup is awesome.
Yeah.
And then we go to the Isle of Berk, and I have some visuals here on my computer. So it kind of looks like this.
It's gorgeous.
I'm gonna
now this
move
was
this down.
8 o'clock in the morning, and it was already 92 degrees.
Yeah.
This was a hot trip, folks. A hot, sweaty trip.
Yeah. This was my vibe. I'll say this. Of the parks we went to, I think looking back on it, I have the fondest memories of Berk because it reminds me the most of Islands of Adventure.
Yeah.
You're walking across docks. There's not a whole lot of shade. That is something that a lot of people have complained about.
The trees need to grow.
Give the trees time to grow.
Solaris is using all her magic to get the trees to grow as fast as she can.
Part of the cool thing in the Isle of Berk is like you can see there are like dragons everywhere.
Yeah, there's animated dragon statues like all over the place, in all these little nooks and crannies. Like this is a cool.
This is like an ironsmith shop. Yeah, blacksmith shop. And then you just kind of turn your head over to the right, and what the hell?
Just
a sleeping dragon doing his thing, and he looks pretty good.
Yeah,
right?
This is not part of a ride. This is not part of a line.
You can just walk up to it
in the area. Very kinetic, very moving. I mean, kids are gonna love this area. And I think adults will too. Everyone there calls you a new Viking. They're very sweet because you're new to their land. They're very nice to you. They welcome you in. This is just like another,
another one,
animatronic dragon above a store.
These fuckers who are just like, get away from my treehouse. And they're adorable. And it kind of feels like you're in the movie. And look, I think Jenny Nicholson made us all terrified of saying the word immersive when we're talking about this bullshit.
Immersive stuff.
It really truly is immersive. Like there these guys are just sleeping up here, and then they're sleeping. Why? Because they were counting these sheep. Ha 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 he ha he ha.
Beautiful landscaping all over the whole park, I will say. I was often pointing out, like, oh, look at the landscaping here. It's so nice.
Yep.
Very thematic. Very well done. There's, of course, tons of characters walking around this area, and the food. We did try... You'll hear about these like mac and cheese cones.
Yeah, some of the people who comment on park stuff were clowning on how regular folks have to eat the mac and cheese cones. Mac and cheese cones are a full meal.
Yeah,
they're wonderful. They're delicious.
There's mac and cheese stuffed inside of a bread cone.
I do kind of a Dave Portnoy impression here. Or 2x7 knows the rules. No, it's good.
Erik got the chicken one. I got the regular mac and cheese with like goldfish sprinkled in, which is pretty good. There was like an intense one with like brisket and like a peanut butter jam kind of thing too. It was called like a PB&J.
Yeah.
But it has like brisket and
Hey.
all sorts of stuff in it.
But hey, these are like $18.
Yeah.
But also, if you eat at certain food trucks, if you go to Smorgasbord downtown LA, you're gonna be paying that much as well.
Yeah.
Food ain't cheap.
It was filling. It was filling.
It was filling. It was a whole meal.
Yeah.
I don't, and it would taste really good. Oh, there's this goofy ass ice dragon who was really fun. And if you hang out every 5 minutes, he'll just kind of like growl at you from his little ice cave, and then he'll do one of these. Stand by for effect.
Does this one happen?
Oh, yeah, it gets in here.
Oh.
And then and gives you a little puff of whatever he's smoking.
It's an ice dragon.
He's an ice dragon. He's great.
LA, can have crazy weather. We get June gloom and, lots of rain sometimes in the winter, spring areas. And anytime there's crazy weather, it's always nice to have some Vessi shoes. They are waterproof sneakers, and that's what makes Vessi special. Having a pair of Vessis means you can still walk the dog, go get coffee, run into the office, do whatever else you need to without having to lug around a pair of backup shoes or some rain boots or any kind of other accoutrement. Your normal shoes are waterproof. Every pair of Vessis are lightweight, weatherproof, and durable enough that you can wear them every day without worrying about wearing them out. Lately, I've been rocking the weekend sneaker, though I wear it on weekdays, believe it or not. I got to check the terms of service and see if they're still applicable on a Tuesday. But there's zero compromise with a pair of Vessis. They're the best looking sneakers I own, and somehow the most functional ones too. Make every day a little easier. Visit Vessi.com/breakroom. There it is on the screen. Now for 15% off your first order at checkout and start exploring with confidence. Thank you, Vessi.
There are a few fun rides in Isle of Berk. Sorry, I'm trying to bring up this image. Oh, that's just Brandon's cool photo. Just a lot of like fun, goofy stuff you can do to mess around with everything. But I think Brandon and my favorite part was the show.
There is a show here. They built a whole stage for it. This show is incredible, folks. Hiccup comes riding in on Toothless, flying over the crowd,
singing, "So if you care to find me, look to the western skies."
The first act of Wicked. It's pretty incredible. No, this show is like full of like multiple dragon puppets that are just like insane, over the top. They built this whole theater for this show.
Yeah.
We went to go see it in the morning. It was having technical difficulties. We didn't get to see it. This is actually us. When they opened for like the grand opening celebration Wednesday night, we beelined it to catch the first showing of this. That's why there's no one in the crowd. Because they had just opened the park, and we were like, we've got to see this show because we'd missed it, and we heard it was great, and we were blown away.
We were totally blown away. Here, I'm trying to
gobsmacked.
Because this is after he lands. I'm trying to find the one, Brandon, that you recorded where he lands.
Did I send it to you? The one where
you totally did. I might have forgotten to put it here.
No, it's okay. But he flies around on that dragon puppet, lands on the stage, and Hiccup gets off of it. There's two singers in the show holding it down, singing songs. Like, here's a hatchery. They got little dragons flying around. There's this giant mama dragon. Just gorgeous stuff.
This is
like, it was a very impressive show. They're probably doing it like 8 to 10 times a day. Working hard, but like really good stuff. I mean, look at that giant dragon puppet.
We were not supposed to be recording this, I don't think, but I don't care.
I will be killed by Vikings for getting this footage. I had to smuggle it out like I was exiting North Korea. I had to keister my phone to get this footage out so that you folks could see it.
This gold watch.
Yeah. But it was an impressive show. We saw two kind of shows during our time at Epic Universe, and they were both really great. We won't say too much about the second one because I think you should see it. Here's me meeting Toothless. This is like a fully animatronic puppet that you meet. You can see how it's kind of attached to the ground there. I'm not 100% sure how it all works, but like the Toothless reacts to you. He coos at you. He laughed at Eric's joke.
He did laugh at my joke. And
now, you can't have the opportunity to meet Toothless with Hiccup if you were lucky. You stand in line. Hiccup's there every now and then. Hiccup tried to come out when I was meeting Toothless, and I said, "Get out of here, Hiccup. Get out of here, Hiccup. I want to meet Toothless. This is Twig, just another Viking who lives in the village."
And Twig had her own personality. her own bullshit going on.
Erik, hear me. Look at it. It's adorable.
Yeah, he kind of did his thing. Twig gave me some shit for not looking where I was going. I think.
You could have had your hand bitten
I
off.
could
That
have
is a
put my
dragon.
hand right in the middle of his mouth, and that would have. We think there's to ruin the magic here. We think there's a little trapdoor.
We don't know
under
anything
his
about it.
belly that new people go in and out of.
I
which is
think
fully
there's a
animatronic.
person who like crawls up in there
Yeah.
and steers it like it's R2D2 or something. But it could be a situation where there's cameras and there's someone off like behind the scenes who's operating. But it is very articulated, very immersive, like very cute. They also have we don't have any footage of it, but they also have like little dragons that kind of walk around who are like the children of Toothless. And that's one of those like robot police dogs you've seen in frightening ways, but they put the dragon skin on it and it's cute and it's adorable.
And look, you can make fun of us for calling this immersive, but here's the deal. There were 4 zones of the park that all have this level of production value. So I would even call it expansive more than immersive because they hide the sight lines really well. Until you go through the portal, you cannot see what is on the other side of it. So once you go through it, suddenly your 360-degree vision is filled with anything they want you to see. And all 4 of the zones did a great job of that. And if you've ever been to Disney, Galaxy's Edge, and they hide the Millennium Falcon until you round the corner.
Right.
That's the one place Galaxy's Edge does that. There are probably 8 to 10 different examples of that kind of whoa effect.
Yeah. I mean, the benefit of this being built in Florida where they have plenty of space. This park is far away from, if you're familiar with the Florida setup for Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure are next to each other. You can take the Hogsmeade train back and forth. This park is probably like 15 minutes away. They got a great shuttle system to get you around. Don't worry about it. But it is farther away. But that gave them plenty of room to kind of build out these areas and really control the sightlines, which I think is a very impressive thing to do. Because, when you're in the Isle of Berk, you can't really see the other lands. And like you mentioned, when you're outside the portal, it's hard to see what's going on inside of them. Yeah. It's a very cool effect. I think it's very impressive. And everyone that was working there, whether they were Hiccup or Astrid, or they were Twig, or they were just the guy managing the line for it. Like, everyone's trying really hard. Rough and Tough, is that their name? Rough and Scruff? Rough and Tough were mean to me, I would like to say.
They bullied Brandon.
In 2 different lands, my mustache was brought up, and I feel like...
That you were really targeted for that.
I was really targeted for it. But they were impressed by Erik's Viking beard, but I got a lot of... I don't know if it was rough and or tough, but he really dressed me down for my mustache. And that's fun too, when you get the characters who are allowed to be mean to you. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, I think they're having fun with it as well. All the face actors, from what we understand, a lot of them came from
We heard this rumor that when the Galactic Star Cruiser closed, they got a lot of those great improvisers that were working on the Galactic Star Cruiser who had to be like in character all the time around everybody. I think some of them got brought over to Epic Universe. And if that's true or not, I don't know. But everyone that we encountered were incredible, including the people. We'll get to it when we got into the Ministry of Magic area. But just some great work. Very immersive, very impressive. And I'm not even a big How to Train Your Dragon fan.
No,
I left this area being like, I love this. This is great.
Just great vibes there.
Great vibes. And there is a great ride there. Hiccup's Wing Gliders, I think is what it's called. Again, it was similar to Hagrid's in that it's very roller coaster-esque. Doesn't go upside down. As someone who pukes when the ride goes upside down. This one didn't have any inversions, but it was a fast coaster. And it had a very cool launch. It had a very cool fake out, go back, go again. Really, really cool. There's a whole play area for you young Vikings out there where you can climb around and get up on all of that. There was a giant dining hall inside of a mountain. That was very cool. They weren't doing dinner there at the time, but I think when you're in the park, that will be a cool place to hang out. Very fun. And another kind of wing flying training ride, which again I did not do because you can spin upside down on it, and I did not want to barf. I want to stress it was 97 degrees. It was so hot outside.
But that's often the temperature.
That's what you're gonna do
Florida.
with Florida. We didn't get any rain in our time in Epic, which was nice. We were very lucky for that.
And that is something that some of the more cynical people were bringing up online is, when it rains in Florida, what do you do in Epic Universe? I think there's plenty to do. Yeah. If you're especially, I think they designed the park well to have good shows that
Yeah.
are indoors. Some of the rides,
Large dining areas, indoor dining areas.
large indoor dining
So
areas.
many.
But yeah, look, that's kind of the reality. Whether you're going to Disney, whether you're going to Busch Gardens, if it rains, you
It's
got to
Florida,
just be
baby.
ready to wait out the rain.
It'll be an hour at
Yeah.
tops, at most.
Yeah,
It rains for an hour.
And now from what I understand, due to climate change, rainstorms are now happening at nighttime in
Yeah.
Florida. You're not even getting the afternoon shower anymore.
The rain comes up from the
But
ground.
I don't know. Yeah, so that is just something. Our planet is cooking, and weather is insane. So
Go to the parks before it's too late. There's also a water ride there, a fire drill, where you're just in a little boat that goes around.
I
through
think
the
it's
water.
a little baby.
Yeah, it's a
baby's
baby
hot
ride. It's for babies.
There's another ride that we didn't go on where you kind of.
That's what I was trying to talk about. The
Oh, yeah.
fly training thing. I don't
Yeah,
know. You
we
can
didn't do
kind of spin, but it went high up in the air.
Let's move on to
Moving on.
Super Nintendo World.
Yeah, this was part 2 of day 1.
Part 2 of day 1. Hot as balls.
Yes.
Going on in the afternoon. So here's what the portal looks like.
Yeah, this gives you an idea of the portal. And that kind of green area in there, that's all animated.
Yeah, this
It's like
part
a big
is animated.
video screen.
This woman is animated.
Yes, that woman, she's not there.
Yeah.
That's
This,
a trick of the eye.
this thing spins.
Yeah.
So that it's like the original.
Yeah. Each
Mario.
portal has like a little saying at the top.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the... Here there be dragons, or we have dragons.
We have dragons. For this, it's here we go.
Here we go. You're familiar with
And
it.
then you go into this portal, and then you ride up one of these escalators.
Yes, you go up an escalator. Again, this is the trick of the sightline. You go up an escalator so that you can go down into the area. So when you're in the bottom of Super Nintendo World, all you can see is Super Nintendo World. And this is intense. You're coming up and you're led right into Peach's Castle, and that's how you enter this area. Now, this is the 3rd time they've built this park. They, of course, built it out here, Universal Studios Hollywood, and they have it in Japan. But what makes this area different is there's also a Donkey Kong Country edition. here
Yes.
at Epic Universe.
But as you walk through the
Yeah.
castle, this is what you see. You're kind of like suddenly thrown into the middle.
And that's real Florida Sky, baby. That's not part of the park. That's
That's not
just
Truman Show Dome, baby. That's
But there's spinning coins everywhere. There's so much music in this area. It's just hitting you with the Nintendo noises. We had the power-up bands, which are interactive throughout this area of the park. You can collect coins. You can punch blocks. There's little mini games you can do all over the place. I would say if you're gonna go, this is where they're gonna get you. The add-ons, if you're a Florida resident, especially, and you're gonna go to this park a lot, you can get that little power band and play the mini games and keep track of your score. People do that out here in Los Angeles too, and you can go multiple times and collect all these digital stamps and all these trophies and just get coins. Just keep getting coins.
And there are Easter eggs hidden around the park that you can get. Let's see. So I'm bringing up a couple of videos.
Okay.
What's really cool about this park, by the way, after you go through the castle, this is what you see.
This is what it looks like on the
and,
other side.
and it looks really cool. They paint it in a certain way to make it look like it's animated, So this part is this green thing with the hills. That is a flat. But it blends in with the sky.
Flats.
It's multiple layers of flats that gives you a good forced perspective. It's just really well designed. But then you get this band, and they come in Luigi, Peach, Toad, Mario, DK. And then everything is just kind of interactive, and this ding, 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 dings. Literally, there's hundreds of these things, and you don't even know all of them that are interactive. But you can also scan your wristband and find goofy Easter eggs. Brandon found this one, scanning.
Look at that.
And who's that? Toad
Toad.
flipping you off.
What is that? That's an Easter egg, baby.
That's an Easter egg.
Where does he get the nerf?
One of the things you can do is gather. Do we have footage of the skeleton of the keys?
I don't know if we have footage of the keys. We were too busy playing the mini games.
Yeah, there's so many goofy mini games, and I would say as Brandon said, you do have to have the power band.
It adds a lot.
It adds a whole new level of it, and it is reusable.
Yeah.
You can afford to go there multiple times.
Doesn't require a battery. It's RFID, so it's not like you have to charge it. You don't
Yeah.
have to change the battery.
Yeah.
But it does give you a lot more features and kind of tracks you throughout the park. 2 big rides here. There's the kind of Mario Kart ride, which again they have out here in California, where you're both in a actual ride with statues and stuff like that, but then you also put on these visors
Yeah.
with visual goggles.
So we don't have the visor part of it
The
on.
visor, we did not bring those from home, folks. They give you those, and then you clip on the visor when you're in the ride vehicle.
Right.
Now, this was like intense.
This was
like
a lot. Yeah.
And I found this was my one knock on this. And I'll be honest with you, folks. I found myself like playing the mini game in my goggles and not noticing the beautiful ride around me. I got a little lost in the sauce.
Yes.
Because they really gas you up. They're like, you got to get 100 coins. And then you can get a trophy. And I'm like, well, I got to do that, right? I got to worry about that. Don't worry about that. Enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the ride. It to me, the most superior game or ride that is like this is Toy Story Midway Mania.
Yes.
Because it's simple carnival games. It's not too overwhelming,
Right.
and then it only lasts in short bursts, and then you move around, you twist around for a little bit, you have a nice break. Here, it is like a constant ride. You have this, as Brandon said, like a screen that clips into the cap, and then it projects AR stuff around you. So you're trying to...
You have to look to see it, and also aim when you're throwing tortoise shells.
So you're throwing shells at Koopas, at Koopa's kids, Ludwig and the rest of them, Iggy, and then you hit them, and you try not to hit Toad or Peach or any of your friends.
You get penalized for hitting your friends, which is tough.
So you get points, and then you run out of shells, and then they let you reload. They'll put a brick in front of you. But it's the first time you ride it, it's so overwhelming. Everything is just super bright and rainbowy, and you don't know, oh, is that a brick? Oh, okay, that's a Koopa? Okay. And you don't really see the ride, you see what's kind of projected on you. And there's sometimes where it blends really well. The Rainbow Road part of it is pretty fun, really cool.
That's a good payoff.
You hit the star and the music, everything is lighting up and you feel invincible and you're like, I am a god! But then it ends pretty fast. The queue for this was really fun, filled with Easter eggs on this queue.
Intense queue on this bad boy. Like it goes through Bowser's Castle. So many rooms, so many Easter eggs. You're going up, you're going down. It was very intense. But a lot of cool things to see, including like a giant Bowser statue, which is just like beautiful. All these like little mechanic things. Like when you're stuck waiting in this line for a long time, you're gonna enjoy that much because there's all these books on the wall of like both like in-game jokes, but also real-world jokes. Like very fun stuff to walk through. But yeah, maybe the queue's more impressive than the ride. I don't know. You decide, folks.
Could be. There is an additional part of the park, and I think this was what impressed me the most about Super Nintendo World. Is they could have just stopped at the Mushroom Kingdom or whatever. You go into a whole different expansion on the back end of it that is Donkey Kong Country, and it just the fact that there's more, and that's where it's like, wow, this never freaking ends. I love this area even more because again, my vibe. This is like have a tropical.
They're playing the bongos.
Yeah.
That's a great bongo noise, I think. Also, like they have like the KONG you can collect with your band, right? And that unlocks something. There was a fun little mini game you could just play in the park where to get the rhinoceros out of the box, you had to play the right rhythm on the bongos. Yeah. And it was hard. It was very hard.
But you did it.
I did do it. But the guy had to help me a lot. Look at that rhythm. I mean, Tito Puente over here. Come on. Sign me up. Ricky, I want to be in the band. I want to be in the show, Ricky. That's a reference for all my I Love Lucy heads out there. Nailed it.
Our favorite ride, I don't know, my favorite ride here.
I think the best ride in Donkey Kong Country and Super Nintendo. This is Eric and I. We were turned into young
This
children.
is from the trailer. We were not recording during it.
We were not allowed to record during the rides, and we followed the rules, even though I saw people recording during
People were
the rides.
recording. Yeah,
it's not safe, folks.
Talk about this is Minecart Madness.
So this is like another roller coaster, no inversions. I gotta keep the lookout for people. But what's fun about this ride is the mechanic of it is there's a secret track underneath the track you're seeing.
Yeah.
So as you're riding along the ride, you see this kind of broken track here, and you're what's gonna happen? Am I gonna die? Did I just pay all this money to come to Epic Universe to die? Who authorized this? But no, there's a secret track underneath, so your ride vehicle kind of hops and jumps around, and like you'll come around a corner, and Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong come out, and then you got to jump to the side. There's also a fun little like dive spin that it does. Very fun, but it's fun because you can't see the bottom track.
Yeah.
So as you're riding along, you have no idea what's about to happen, and that makes it a lot of fun. Fun music on this ride. You get a giant. I don't want to spoil the ending for you. You don't die.
You might.
I might be dead. This might be heaven or hell. You decide, Jeremy.
If your heaven was the Breakroom, what would that mean?
Oh, I think I did something wrong. No, but I think this in the Nintendo portal, like this is a ride totally worth doing. So much fun. A lot of side-to-side ricketiness. It feels like you're in a minecart. Very fun. Very fun.
The food in the park was pretty great as well. There's our friend, Fit That CEO.
Oh, yeah. You see this? This is a nice little souvenir cup you can get. Now, here, this is described. You see Erik with it there. It's like a kind of pineapple soda, and on top there's like this waffle cone. And then the ice cream is like a mix of pineapple and banana flavor, which that kind of put me off in my head. But like, it actually tasted very good. And really, break through the cone, let the ice cream get in the soda. Then you got a real treat.
Then it's good.
And then you got a commemorative cup.
Just give it a nice 30 seconds for it to melt in that.
Yeah, there was
Florida
little
heat.
like popcorn, kind of caramel popcorn.
Yeah, candy
caramel
popcorn.
corn. Caramel corn. Little gold stars. Very good little treat. You can also meet Donkey Kong in this area.
Yeah.
You can meet Toadstool. You can meet Mario Luigi. You can meet Princess Peach.
Yeah.
She kind of speaks to you in a very uncanny valley way. Like it is like a normal fully costumed character, but her like mouth moves and she talks.
Yeah.
But it was unsettling, a little unsettling for me.
You can meet Fit Dad CEO and Brandon Davis as they're goofing off.
Yeah, this is
eating,
inside
Bowser's meatball challenge.
This was
pound of
a
meat.
very spicy meatball. That's spicy sauce. I'll say it. Brandon Davis too afraid to eat the sauce.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, I think he's being sensible here. He knows that he has another day and a half of going.
Put your
through it.
body on the line. Put your life on the
Our
line.
man wrestles.
No.
He's got a product he's got to maintain.
But this is Toadstool's Cafe, run by the people of Toadstools. But again, huge inside. I was impressed with how large it was inside.
Yeah.
It could
It's big
feed
space.
hundreds. Put them in there.
Big space. I went home getting my son a Yoshi plushie, and he loves
job.
it.
Good job.
He loves it.
I got a clip-on Yoshi thing for my wife's backpack, and I got a Shy Guy because Shy Guy fucking rocks. Shy Guy's great.
Let's take a pause here
Okay.
and then answer some of the questions we've been receiving. Thank you for being so patient.
Spidey Sensei, thank you for subbing for 17 months.
Let's see.
Partial Mouse TVV, asking you, Erik, will you break down How to Train Your Dragon live action?
We
That film
might.
coming out.
We might.
We saw Gerard Butler, and we saw the actor who plays the live action Hiccup walking around.
We did, and that guy. I kind of prefer the Parks Hiccup a little bit.
The Parks Hiccup was pretty good. Park Astrid pretty good. But guys, put Twig in a movie.
Twig needs her own spin-off franchise. I've said it before, and I meant it. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up some of the questions we've been seeing.
I'll look at some of these super chat here. Angel Genorio sending in a super chat on YouTube asking, how would you guys rank all the lands of Epic? Let's save that for the end. What do you say?
We'll save it for the end.
We will get to that.
We will get to that.
Scoopball420 sending in a super chat saying, was there last weekend for my son's 4th birthday. I mean, what a treat for a 4-year-old. Oh my gosh. He a huge Mario fan. We loved our time. So impressive. Son's first roller coaster is DK, Minecart, and Glide. I think Hiccup's Gliders.
Oh, yeah.
Those are great first roller coasters. Again, no inversions. I'm not puking my guts out. That's great. In the central area, they have Stardust Racers in Celestial Park, and I did not get on that roller coaster. Guys, if you get on that roller coaster, you are insane. But a fun little Easter egg on that roller coaster, there's a flux capacitor on the back of it.
Yeah.
Isn't that adorable?
It's fun.
Also, bring back the Back to the Future ride, you cowards. They're losing The Simpsons. Change it back.
I think
Change
they will.
it back to Back to the Future.
I think they
Back
will.
to the Future needs more presence.
Well, I
in the
told you
park.
my theory. They're waiting for Michael J. Fox to leave this plane, which is very sad.
gonna
I
have
never
to-
want him.
They're going to have to take Zemeckis with them.
I will need to take like
know.
a month of mourning whenever that happens.
I don't want them to remake the movies, folks. Nobody does, but
I think they're gonna do it.
It's
The
a great
forces
property.
of capitalism will force them to do it.
It's a great
and I think
property.
out of respect, I think they want to show some, and I think that's the right thing to do. I think anytime Gale is asked, Bob Gale, co-writer of it, is asked about it, he goes, well, do you want to put Michael J. Fox through that? And I'm like, good answer. I don't think that's
Christopher
fair either.
Lloyd's still around, too. We got to wait.
I think, but in our lifetimes,
Christopher Lloyd, Michael J. Fox, Leah Thompson, Bob Zemeckis,
Crispin Glover,
Crispin Glover, the guy who plays Biff, put them all on
Billy
an
Zane.
airplane.
Billy Zane.
Zane, send him through the MH370 portal. We never see him again, then we can remake the movies.
Yeah. Let's
Marvel
see.
Pirate on Twitch saying, my dad's company did a lot of the control systems for the park. If you want to spoil the magic for yourself, just ask. Never, Marvel
We
Pirate.
don't want to know.
I want to
Marvel
figure
Pirate.
it out myself.
Yarr. We got some other non-parks related super chats here. Andrew, thank you for your super chat asking, do you guys think it's bad there's no build up to Doomsday? Like we see Fantastic Four, then take a year break, then see Spider-Man, then another 5 months later, it's Avengers.
You're crazy if you think they're not building up to Doomsday.
Well, I think what he means is like when we had
There's
Infinity War,
another movie?
we knew that there was an Infinity Stone march
Gotcha.
that we got that was planned. Here, I think the way Doomsday is being structured is we have had the build up to it. I think we have seen Thunderbolts already. We've seen Endgame, and I think it's going to be cumulative.
Well, and I think like the Infinity Saga, how they kind of retcon some things to be like, oh, the Tesseract, it's actually an Infinity Stone. You know, I think we will see that like items like the Void will play a big role in like Doomsday and Battle World, so that when you go back again, you're going to be like, oh, they've used a lot of this to build up Doomsday when maybe that wasn't the initial plan, but they will use it in a smart way to kind of lead us there, which that ties into my Mission Impossible discussion. We'll get to that.
Demoria, thank you for your super chat asking, the Doomsday chair reveal hints Doom will destroy multiple universes. Wakandans being singled out suggests they're from another universe, in my opinion. Hence the new suits. Could a new Black Panther appear in Doomsday? I think the Wakandans that we see in Doomsday will be the Wakandans we've seen in Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Even if they have new suits.
Yeah.
I think they're still from 616. But I do think we will see a new Black Panther, at least in Secret Wars. I think they're going to use the battle world structure of different chunks from different universes to establish a new T'Challa.
From a different
universe.
Yeah. I think you're will it be Michael B. Jordan?
No, I think it's going to be that, what's his name? The Damson Idris guy from the concept art.
Okay.
Or someone else.
Okay.
We'll see.
One of our sponsors this week is HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. With HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. HelloFresh makes it easier to fit quick, home-cooked meals into your schedule every week by curating delicious recipes like pasta primavera, chicken Dijon, and pecan-crusted trout, as well as over 100 seasonal snacks, sides, and treats. HelloFresh has meal options to fit every lifestyle without compromising on taste, health, or homemade quality. Their ready-made meals offer chef-crafted, flavorful dishes that are ready in just 3 minutes. So you can dig in and get outside, get work done, or just have some me time. Get a bubble bath a brewing, you know what I mean? One of our favorites at the Breakroom is the Southwest style chicken bowl. We're big old Southwest style chicken bowl fans over here. The chicken is super moist, do you like that word? And flavorful, and has just the right amount of kick. It's seriously restaurant quality, but waiting for me at home and ready whenever I want it. Every HelloFresh meal uses high quality ingredients, including seasonal fresh produce and proteins that travel from farm to your doorstep, plus flexible deliveries that you can pause or skip when you need. Feel great with meals that fit your spring schedule and make the season even more delicious. Go to HelloFresh.com/Breakroom10FM now to get 10 free meals with a free item for life. 1 per box with active subscription. Free meals applied as discount on first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. Thanks again to HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit, for sponsoring our show.
Bro just says, do you think there's ever going to be another 10-year saga for Marvel? Do you think they might add a couple films and extend the multiverse saga to 2028 or 2029? If it does go that long, it'll be because Secret Wars gets delayed another year. I think they're eager to get to the mutant saga.
Yeah, and that'll be a long saga.
And I think that'll be a 10-year saga.
Yeah. Most definitely.
In fact, like, the mutant saga could just be what the MCU is from now on. That's how many the X-Men there are, how many great characters there are.
Yeah.
And if Marvel never lets go of the rights, they should just, like, until people get sick of superhero movies, they should just keep making X-Men stories forever.
You think still tying in, like...
And then tie in the
heroes we
Fantastic
know?
Four, tie in Doctor Doom, the Fantastic Four, some other lineup of Avengers, do an Avengers versus X-Men. But, like, the X-Men should be at the forefront of the Marvel Universe.
What'll happen first? Back to the Future, new Back to the Future movie? or new Tony Stark, new Steve Rogers? They start over with characters we've already seen before.
Well, that's a great question. Just because Marvel takes for fucking ever
They're taking their time
to do anything. Yeah, I think we'll see a Back to the Future spinoff before.
Okay.
And I don't think it'll be like recasted Marty McFly. I think it'll just be the way Ghostbusters was rebooted as like a Ghostbusters legacy thing. I think you'll see like a legacy sequel where someone else will get the DeLorean.
Someone finds the DeLorean that was left in the past at some point.
Right.
I say bring back that train, dog.
It'll be
From
Doc.
Back to the Future Part 3. I want to see that train again. And that weird little creepy boy.
Doc's kids.
Doc's kids.
I think, I mean, you follow those kids in the animated show, I believe. There is expanded lore to everything. It's really weird. Biff becomes like an insane villain in the end. Did you ever watch any of the cartoon?
I feel like I have a fever dream of seeing those cartoons. Right? But it mixes with like, wasn't there an Indiana Jones cartoon also? I know there was like...
There was a Young Indiana Jones
Chronicles. But wasn't there like a cartoon at some point? I might be mixing everything. I might be
Beetlejuice was a cartoon.
Johnny Quest gets in there at some point.
Beetlejuice was a cartoon where he and Lydia are like hanging
friends.
out.
Hey, remember when I tried to sexually assault you? You want to be buds?
And he kind of becomes fat. He gets like a gut.
He's got like a little paunch. Which if I was Michael Keaton, I'd be like, what is this? This is slander, dude.
I've never been that chubby in
Michael
my life.
Keaton was like, I was playing Beetlejuice with a six pack. You just didn't see it over there.
He had the Hemsworth V.
Yeah. I had gutters. got him worm gutters.
Well, if you watch the cartoon Back to the Future, Biff basically becomes like Kang the Conqueror.
Oh, okay.
He
like
evil.
Controls time in a weird way.
And there's like a Biff in every era,
okay.
which that's already the case in the movie. There's like his ancestors, but they're like a weird a force of destiny that was put into the cosmic plane to torture Marty McFly and his family. And it's just wild it's a kid's show, but it is insane. The power he's given.
I always thought it was weird in Back to the Future Part 3 that like his great grandparents look like him and his mom in a very weird way. It's like, well, he's playing,
Right, but the mom, it should only be one of the parents,
yeah, it
right?
should just be one, right? It doesn't make sense.
No, that's why we love it.
I don't know.
All right, thank you all.
Corey Ross on YouTube saying, hey guys, I'm an engineer at Universal Creative. Really glad you enjoyed our new park. Big fan of New Rockstars Network. Thank you, Corey. We're a fan of what you're doing over there. I mean,
you guys are the geniuses.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
It is. There's a lot of slander thrown at like adults who like theme parks and stuff. Eric has a kid, so he's got a reason to be there. I'm a maniac who just like loves this kind of like immersive stuff, and it's very cool. I think it's like the world's crazy and stuff, and this is just like a fun way to escape. In an interesting way, and it's fun when like everyone's having a good time and playing along.
Yeah. Also, like I even as a parent, I have no problem with just groups of adults going to these parks, because like any kind of fandom is meant for all four quarters. It's meant for kids and adults, and those adults don't have to have kids to enjoy it. If you go to any convention, you have adults cosplaying as characters that were designed for children.
Right.
If you go to any opening weekend of a Star Wars or a Marvel movie, remember when they used to have those for Star Wars? You'll see adults who are just going there. Like, and Star Wars was meant to be like kind of a kid thing. Specifically, shows like Rebels and Clone Wars were meant for children, but adults can have completely valid emotional connections to those characters and those stories. And I just think it's insane.
People go to football games. They wear another man's name on their back. Yeah. They're dressing up. They put paint on their face. Sometimes they dress like a dog for some reason. And they're like, we're in the dog pound. And you're like, I thought your team's mascot was something else. It doesn't matter.
And then in December games, they dress as like a Santa, but with different colors.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
You have a guy who's just got kind of a white beard who will get like, if you're in Jacksonville, he'll get a teal and black Santa hat. Just be like, I'm Jackson DeVille Claus. And it's like, whoa, there's a hat on a hat here, man.
People go to Renaissance fairs. That's very immersive.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong. Don't shit on how
we all wear masks every day. Right? We're just hairless apes. We put on these clothes. We go to these jobs. It's all a farce. Let's talk about day 2 at Epic Universe.
Yeah. Day 2, they brought us to the village of Dark.
Oh, and we didn't say, sorry, I don't mean to backtrack, but Solaris did come out before Nintendo World also gave a great speech. I have got to give props to Solaris. She was off book at each of these like intro things she would do, and she was timed to the music, which was even more incredible, right?
Yeah.
Like, it had a whole speech, had an incantation she made. It was incredible. So day 2, it's time to go to the Dark Universe.
So for Brandon and me, you know, we have our certain fandoms that we like.
Right.
You know, there's Super Nintendo World is fine. We didn't really know much about How to Train Your Dragon World. This is an area that I knew the least about what was going on and was probably most curious about.
I was most curious about this too.
Yeah, so this area is called like the Dark Universe, and the village in the Dark Universe is called Darkmoor. And Darkmoor is meant to be kind of like a European village in Transylvania a little bit, where there's like Dr. Frankenstein's estate is there. And we'll
Frankenstein Manor is
Frankenstein
there.
Manor.
There's all these, this little town area has like all these little shops, apothecaries. There was Das Steakhouse is the main restaurant here.
Yes.
Vampire themed. It's just like intensely vampire themed. Like in the wall are the dead vampires that the monster hunters have killed with the stakes still in them.
Yeah.
You know, again, a huge area to eat indoors.
Yes.
You love to see it.
And yeah, that is what blew, and I think that might just be a California to Florida
Right.
thing. We
and
forget.
again, it doesn't look big from the outside, but you go inside some of these places and they're huge inside.
Yeah, like we just forget how much real estate there is in Florida, and it really blew our minds because most of the time when you go into any restaurant in California, it's small. It can seat maybe 40 people max. Here, it's just like we want to fit an army in here, and it's just a vast place to sit everywhere. Yeah. And it's air conditioned. It's just like thank God.
So nice.
And I forget that is just how Florida works.
But very thematic, like big wooden chairs, chandeliers with bats.
Yeah. You walk up to, I'm going to bring up a picture of, so this is Frankenstein's Manor.
And this houses the main ride in this area, the Monsters Unchained ride.
Which is the best ride of the park.
3 times.
Yeah, it is by far. Maybe not by far, but it is the best ride of the park. And here's why. When you go in, it is themed around a narrative of you have Victor von Frankenstein, but then you have Frankenstein, who was in the family tree of Frankenstein, who was in the 1931 film.
This is based on this all stems from the original 1931 Universal Frankenstein film, where that doctor is Henry Frankenstein.
Henry Frankenstein.
In the novel, it's Victor Frankenstein, but for Universal's Henry Frankenstein.
And there are pictures. The queue for this ride is really cool.
Right.
I will compare this to like if Disney's The Haunted Mansion were expanded into a whole village, and we're embracing lots of different types of folklore. Because it does have some of the vibes of like you're going into a horror themed park,
right.
But it has like all the different monsters that Universal has historically had the rights to, not just Frankenstein's monster. You have the Wolfman, you have the Invisible Man. Dracula is there.
The Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Creature from the Black Lagoon is there.
The Mummy.
And Igor.
The Bride.
Igor is a hoot.
Igor is a character you can meet walking around the park. There's 2 main characters that kind of roam this land. With Igor, who is Victoria Frankenstein's assistant, who is the granddaughter of Henry Frankenstein. Great-granddaughter or granddaughter? I think granddaughter.
Yeah, or I think...
Maybe great...
I think she's great-granddaughter of Henry Frankenstein. There's 3 generations that separate.
Igor's the assistant. You can interact with Igor. You can also interact with the Invisible Man. We did not interact with that gentleman, though I hear he's mean and he's sassy. Again, I love when they can be mean to you. Igor is a treat. He's just like, he's out there, he's having fun. He's got a bag of body parts. He'll come up to you. He'll give you a hard time. He, again, addressed my mustache. Now, the lore here was that Igor claimed to have built me. I was one of his monsters. And he was like, you come back, I give you a new mustache. You know, and if, he'll be, if you don't do what he says, he gets sassy with you. He'll be like, have a terrible day, I hate you. He calls us delightful freaks.
Delightful freaks, which is like my favorite thing anybody has called us.
Because in the Isle of Berk, you're a new Viking. In Super Nintendo World, you're a player. You know, you're a player of video games. We think in Dark Universe, everyone should be a delightful freak. That should just be what they call you.
As you go through the queue for Monsters Unchained, you're going through the manor.
Yes.
If you know the 1931 Frankenstein film, you'll recognize these
This
two.
is Henry Frankenstein and the woman he marries in that film, and his monster just gets in the way of it all.
Yep. And then
you'll hear like footsteps pounding overhead.
Yeah.
With the idea that like Frankenstein's monster's walking above you. There's beautiful murals on the wall. This box lights up and makes loud noises. That's the family tree.
That's
Eric
the family
was
tree.
talking about.
So 1 generation, 2 generations, and I think that might be Henry.
That might have been Henry.
So
yeah.
like great maybe. Interesting, kind of like faces blacked out. There's like the Victor Frankenstein of the family. There's like a cool mural up there that kind of reminds you of like a very dark version of the creation of Adam.
Yeah.
You know, there's Mary Shelley themes all over the place. So technically the Frankenstein's monster from that one died, right?
Yeah.
He
So
burned.
this is the dead one from the movie. This is version 1 that burned in the burning mill. We'll talk about that later. And this display is incredible. It's an actual like statue inside of it, and this kind of video screen moves up and down to show you the insides. But the like hairs on the legs on this thing are incredible.
Yeah, you can
and that also that family tree, Eric. Some of the creators of the ride are like
Yeah.
the pictures on that family.
So
tree.
I think that the chief contractor is her grandfather, is this guy, and I
Yeah.
can't remember his name, but you see him in a lot of
her
interviews.
father. I think it was her father or her grandfather.
Well, she had a mom.
Oh, that's right.
And then her mom's dad was.
We all had a mom, Eric. We all had a mom.
And her name was Wanda Maximoff.
Mother.
You start to get it. We don't want to spoil too much of the story of the ride.
No.
But like you can see, kind of the load-in areas are very fun. They do a really effective.
This is a
thing.
pre-show. If you don't want to see this, close your eyes.
Yeah, we're not going to play the audio of it,
Yeah,
but you can kind of just see.
This
the
is an animatronic, and it is nuts. And one of the things that is so effective on this ride is that both in this pre-show and during the ride, the animatronics are very lifelike, but they're 10 feet tall. They're huge.
They're huge.
And it is so impressive. It is really cool. The ride vehicle for this is, the way I've described it to people, is like the robot arms you see building cars. It's that with like a bench on it that seats 4 people with like a roller coaster thing. And it is, you think it might be jerky? Well, this is a demonstration Igor gives you, which is great, and like what he shows you is frightening, and it's not that bad. But people were like, "Is it jerky? Is it too much?" No, it's a very smooth movement. But the way it works, this thing moves on a track along the ride, and there's video screens, and there's like practical animatronics, and it can like move you towards the wall, away from the wall, kind of put you on your back so you're facing up. Just like an incredibly smooth ride system that is so much fun.
Yeah.
And this ride is just great. And you might be asking, is this scary? Could I take my children on? I'm a scaredy pants crybaby. I will not go to Halloween Horror Nights. I absolutely refuse. As we get locked in, we were locked in with the Super Carlin Bros.
Yeah, Jay and
we
Ben.
forced them to ride with us.
Yeah.
And as it locked in, I was like, I'm scared. I got scared. But like, it's not, they're not going for like jump scares here too much. It's more just like the vibes.
So what I'm showing you here is from Universal's trailer.
Yeah,
it's not going to spoil the coolest parts of the
Right.
ride. Don't worry. It is just kind of the introductory part of the ride, just to give you a sense of what it's like. This is kind of what you see. Like animatronics blending in with the screen in the background.
So cool. Oh my gosh.
The Phantom.
The Phantom reaches that. It's so, and again, he's like 10 feet tall. This thing's like 10 feet tall. The Dracula.
These are all big.
It's
It's just
so
what you see.
good.
And like, the experience is just the animatronics are really good.
The story's great
and then
on this.
Talk about how they do the faces. Were you talking about how they do?
Oh
the
yeah.
acting?
So in the pre-show, you see Victoria Frankenstein and she's talking, and what it is like it is a full animatronic, but yeah, right here. Or no, that's on the no.
This is the pre-show. I think,
They're projecting the face on there.
Yeah.
Which is an effect that's been done at other parks, but I think they're doing a really good job here because like the way the mouth moves. The kind of like animatronic underneath like moves a little bit and like the mouth is moving on top of it. So instead of having to actuate a whole face, right? They're projecting on the face so there's less that can go wrong, but it moves very naturally.
Yeah.
It's a really cool effect.
Yeah, and there's just a real narrative. And I think this is the area where I'm like, Universal must have plans to expand.
Get back into these movies.
They need to do it. And we were kind of debating while we were in the queue, like like Brandon and I, we rode it multiple times, and
Yeah.
we just waited in the queue for like half
As
an
people
hour
pass by
and let
us.
people pass by us just so we could like look at everything. We found so many Easter eggs, like different generations of notes from the different family members referencing Mary
Yeah.
Shelley, referencing all kinds of lore.
Yeah, quotes from the book, quotes
Yeah.
from the movies. There's video in one room, like there's different videos, like kind of found footage style of Victoria Frankenstein capturing all the other monsters that
Yeah.
are locked in on this ride. That was like so much fun. And like the more you watch it, you're picking up all these little details. There's a great narrative on this ride as you go through it. And the more you ride it, you'll just kind of see that story unfold.
Yeah.
And it just the vibes. The vibes on this ride are immaculate. It's very fun.
Yeah.
I think this is an incredible ride. If you know your history of Universal, you know that they tried to kind of reboot this monster franchise as cinematic universes were coming into fashion. They made a Mummy movie with Tom Cruise that is not great. They made a Wolfman movie with Benicio del Toro that is not great. Blumhouse put out a Wolfman movie again this year, but that's not even that. They need to try and recreate this cinematic universe again. Set it in this kind of Victorian era. There's some modern elements of this ride, but I think, yes, set it in the past, kind of how Darkmoor looks. Now, our question was like, because the way a cinematic universe works best is you have heroes. How do you base a cinematic universe around villains? When you can't root for villains all the time, and when they try and do that, Spumsy, it doesn't go well because usually it's like, well, Venom is a villain, but he's fighting a worse Venom. You know, like you need to have, and the way the ride does it, it's like there's heroes and there's villains on this ride.
Yeah.
And it's very fun. And I think that's something they could do. Have a universe where Victoria Frankenstein is trying to, like every Frankenstein before her is trying to create life again. And it goes horribly awry, right? But you can have your heroes and have your like more evil monsters. But you can make it work, Universal. I'm begging you.
Yeah.
Get this movie franchise
And it
going.
doesn't even need to be Victoria Frankenstein.
No.
There's a whole family tree
Yes.
of like different eras that they could explore and just go further back and just show other generations of monsters and just kind of build out their own history.
Yeah.
They could go even further back. Nosferatu was such a fun experience. Such like kind of
That, again, scary movie, but a comedy at a lot of times.
it's just a delight.
A lot of laughs in that movie.
Yeah.
There's also a ride in this area based on the Wolfman.
Uh-huh.
That is like a coaster. Again, no inversions. But this was like an intense one. You're in a ride vehicle with 4 people, 2 people facing forward, 2 people facing backward, and your ride vehicle can spin. If you've been to Disneyland Paris, it's similar to Crush's coaster. But that was like very fun and intense. And then I think if it had gone 1 second longer, I would have barfed. But it was just long enough. And it has like a fun element where you go through an area where you speed up again and you're kind of rocked around. And it's just like very fun and disorienting and a really fun, cool ride. This is probably the smallest land.
Yeah, I think.
And I wish it was 3 times as big.
Right.
Because it is so fun.
I think over time they do have to expand it. It's pretty
Yeah.
small, and like there were people in the media group who were like, "All right, we've seen everything. Can we go now?" And I'm
Yeah,
like,
this felt like it was
Not
like,
us.
oh, we've done everything and the time is, we still have an hour here. But like,
not us. We were like, let's go back through Monsters Unchained again.
there's also a cool tavern here called the Burning Mill Tavern.
Oh, we didn't show Burning Mill
That's
Tavern.
tied to the original Frankenstein movie. Spoiler alert for 1931, 39, somewhere in there. Frankenstein is chased into the burning mill, and the villagers collect and they burn it down. Every 15 minutes, this thing lights on fire, and it doesn't just like light on fire; it like explodes with fire.
Yeah.
And there's cool like audio sound that plays when this is happening. You could hear villagers in the bushes being like, "He's in there, got to catch him." But beneath this area, you can walk in. There's a whole tavern under there that is again 100% vibes.
Yeah.
Very cool. Had lots of cool drinks. You can get a fun collectible Erlenmeyer glass.
Yeah.
We had a very sweet drink in there that was
Yeah.
non-alcoholic. It was very good. But they also serve alcoholic drinks in there. That is going to be where like all the cool parents hang out.
Yeah.
And tell their kids, hey, go mess around in Super Nintendo Land. Here's your band. See you in 6 hours. Mommy and Daddy going to get drunk at the Burning Mill Tavern. Safely drunk.
Moving on to the final part of the park that we visited. What is it called?
This is called The Wizarding World of Harry Potter - The Ministry of Magic.
A mouthful, for sure.
That's the portal here. Once
So,
again, Solaris used her magic and opened the land. And we were lucky enough that when this land opened, when each land opened, characters came out and did their little thing. Here, the 3 characters came out. Elodie, the girl from a student at Beaubaton, as well as like a British student and an American student from the 1920s, all came out. But also Warwick Davis was there, as well as the twins.
Fred and
George. I don't know the real actors' names. I apologize.
Yeah,
but they were there. But this area is like the main area is themed for like 1920s Paris. It is huge. Like these buildings, you know, I'm sure there's a little forced perspective here, but they feel 3 to 4 stories tall. Again, you can't see beyond the walls here. We had some butterbeer crepes, which were quite tasty. We had sips of butterbeer and a frozen version of butterbeer that was so sweet. But people love them. I know they go nuts for it. But man, again, I cannot stress enough. It was 98 degrees.
It was so sugary.
Hot. But they were very sugary drinks. But we sat at like a French cafe and just watched people walk by, and it was beautiful. And it really encapsulates that feeling of like being in a foreign country. This felt like, you know, you were really transported to a new area. And as we were sitting there, like kind of the 3 walking characters came by.
Right.
Elodie from Beaubaton, I loved talking to. Tried to run a little French on her. She out-Frenched me. And Erik got him good.
Yeah.
And they got Erik good.
They got me good.
Back.
So they gave us these wands that we could test out. I will say you can get the wands if you're really into it.
They are hard to do.
It is difficult to do.
Magic is tough.
I think they're gonna work out the kinks from that. But you can experience this park without needing the wand. It's not like the Power Band for Super Nintendo World.
This adds a little. The wands add a little bit, but not nearly as much.
Yeah, and maybe they'll upgrade it over time.
Well, and I think we had technically the version 1 wands, and there are version 2 wands now. But I don't think any of the version 2 effects are in this park.
Okay.
If I understood correctly.
Okay. So yeah, I was showing these 3 characters my wand, and they're like,
His magic wand.
Yes.
You filthy animals.
My magic wand made of willow. And they were like talking to me, and I was like, oh, you know, someone told me, they whispered to me that I should try a certain spell. It's like Avada Kedavra. They're like, no, don't say it. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, is that a bad thing? They're like, that's the worst spell. And I'm like, yeah, it must have been like I think it was a Death Eater who told me that. And they're like, without missing a beat, what's a Death Eater? Because it's the 1920s.
They don't know.
And Death Eaters don't exist yet. Because Voldemort isn't around yet. So I thought they thought I was testing them. Yeah. I just misspoke. I was just goofing around.
And they were, especially the American student and the British student, I'm sorry, I forget their names, were wearing very heavy cloaks. It was 98 degrees. It was so hot. I felt so bad for them. There's a lot of nooks and crannies in this area. You can really walk around. I mean, this area is like a cosplayer's dream for their Instagram page, because there's just areas you can just take photos of that are all thematic. There's posters everywhere in French, like posters advertising house elves.
Yeah, for nanny services.
Childcare. We walked into the Goblet Noir, which was like a kind of French 1920s bar. And we walked in there, and he is just full of Easter eggs. And they were saying some of the stuff in there were props from the movie, like just set dressing from the movies. There was a little Deathly Hallows symbol up in the corner. Yeah. And when you're in there, too, there's 2 stairwells, and they're like, I think there's people upstairs. And you're not allowed to go upstairs, but you can listen, and you can hear like conversations happening upstairs. Again, huge air-conditioned dining area. The food there looked really good and intense. We didn't eat anything there. I had a lavender iced tea lavender lemonade that was delicious.
Yeah, we wanted to eat the food, but we had banged for lunch.
Yeah, we
went. There were 2 different areas where the guests could go eat. There was one where it was
Park.
In Celestial Park. One was the Blue Dragon.
It was kind of
delicious.
We had a
Chinese fusion
chow
food.
soy kind of like ramen thing.
Very tasty. And then there was another one that was
dashed over to the American side where there was like chicken and waffles.
Yeah,
did a little bang.
We ate both.
We had a lot of food.
Where we could get like grilled cheese.
Yeah. And, also in Celestial Park, Pizza Moon, I think, is going to be the place to eat.
Yes,
delicious pizza, and just like very cool inside. That kind of invokes that Journey to the Moon silent film.
Yeah.
With just like kind of cardboard or like 2D statues that are very kinetic and moving. But anyways.
So yeah, everywhere has like goofy Easter eggs, stuff you can look around. It is based off of the Fantastic Beasts, Crimes of Grindelwald, the second one of those movies.
That's why it's 1920s.
That's why it's 1920s Paris. And maybe you saw that movie, maybe you liked it, maybe you didn't, but that is what they built it to be. So everything is set in that period of time, including the Circus Arcanu, which is really fun. It's a crazy show.
I don't want to spoil anything about the show.
I don't want to spoil anything about it, but I will just say this looks like the full tent, in the town square, right?
It's like a simple tent.
Simple tent. You go in there, and it is not simple at all. It's
a very cool effect.
Very, very, very cool effect once you get in. And I don't want to say too much about the show.
Don't read about the show.
Don't read about the show.
Go see it.
You're best off just being completely surprised by the show.
It's just a circus show. Just go see the circus show.
It's just an interesting kind of, with circus performers.
And the performers in it were so good.
Really, really fun.
Just really, again, we really touted the How to Train Your Dragon show. This is a great show, too.
Yeah, also a great show. In fact, I think the guy who played the villain in this show also played one of the singers in How to Train Your Dragon.
I think he's running back and forth between lands. But, again, great singing. Incredible effect. I couldn't believe the stage they built for this. And, just nuts stuff. Now, you've probably heard about the main ride. Really only one ride in this area. There's the Circus Arcana show, and then there is the Ministry of Magic ride. Now, there's a little bit of time-turnery magic you have to have happen here because you're in 1920s Paris, and then you go to a subway station and you go through the Flu network. You're transported back to England to the Ministry of Magic, but also you are transported to 6 months after the Battle of Hogwarts.
Yes. And
very specific.
One little Easter egg they did to justify this is when you're going through the initial portal to get into this part of the park, you do hear the sound effect of a time turner.
Yes, to justify why you're going back to 1920s.
That time is broken.
Yes.
But, you probably have seen videos of this. You enter the ministry much like you would in the movies. You go through a portal of flu powder, hits you through the fireplace, you walk in, and then suddenly you're in a place that looks like this.
And
they created a 1-to-1 scale version of the Ministry set from Order of the Phoenix and Deathly Hallows Part 1. And it looks incredible.
You can see the people standing there. It's so tall. And there's a fun effect on the ceiling where they use a mirror to make these offices go to the ceiling. And this is just a photo, but that, Umbridge is moving, it's a moving image there.
Yeah.
And in these offices, the lights are flickering, the ceiling fans are going. It's all kinetic, and it feels so lived in and so real. This ride is good. The Ministry of Magic ride is really good. I won't spoil anything about it. It's using, again, video screens and animatronics. One thing I loved, we're not popping on 3D glasses for this or Monsters Unchained. But, the effect of just walking in here is, I think, better than the ride.
I think the queue is better than the ride.
And there's so much more to the queue. You go to you go to a central area. You go and you see lockers. I think you might have seen online. There's kind of Easter eggs that Harry's locker is in there because in Auror now.
Yeah, you can see Ron's locker
is in there.
Yeah.
You see Dolores Umbridge's office, including the plates with the cats on them, which are just adorable.
Yeah, I have your
I think I put one video in there. She also has her house elf here, who I assume is freed now at this point. I don't like the logistics of house elves and why they're still around.
It's crazy that they're doubling down.
It's a little intense. Higgledy was her house elf, I believe. Her name is Higgledy.
Yeah.
Just very cool. I mean, this queue is out of this world, and
sorry, I'm trying to find it.
Oh, that's okay. The attention to detail is so good in it, and it's you go in so many different rooms as you're in the queue, and you just can't believe that they built all this, and the theming is just everywhere in it, and it's really impressive. It took my breath away, and if it's very similar to kind of the effect you get walking into Galaxy's Edge or something like that, where you're just everywhere you look, there's something.
I think it's better.
It's better because I think you're inside and they're really controlling everything.
Yeah, it's fully whatever. Yeah. It's not even 360 degrees because it's also above and below you. You feel like you're in the ministry. I've just never experienced something quite like this.
The statues are huge.
Yeah.
And that area behind that kind of wizard statue is a video screen and practical tiny offices, they're using forced perspective in a really smart way.
And throughout the park, but it was really evident here, they use motion in a smart way.
Yeah.
Because if you can make things move in just little ways, it just does literally bring it to life. It animates it. But like in these offices, they have the fans, the ceiling fans running, and just having the ceiling fan running tricks your brain into thinking, oh, that is an actual functioning office. And it's just smart design. I kept saying that, like, smart, because I have a friend who's an Imagineer, and like, I just know how smart you have to be and how creative you have to be to even think of this and execute it and engineer it and construct it. And I was just really blown away. The ride for this,
they're making announcements all over the place.
Yeah, for sure. There's always,
there's a room where there's 3 portraits, kind of in memoriam. There's Mad Eye Moody. There's a gentleman in the center whose name I forget, and they're talking to each other. Like,
well, there's a new character who is not in it, and then you see the Longbottoms, Frank and Alice Longbottom, who of course were tortured to the point of insanity.
They don't speak, but they're there.
It's all people who died in the Second Wizarding War, right, against Voldemort's forces. So they're there. The queue for this is very fun. I think if you're a Harry Potter fan, you're gonna appreciate the queue. I think I dug the queue for Monsters Unchained a little bit more, just because the vibe of it was more fun. And there's something that about like Dolores Umbridge aesthetic is like, I get really kind of grossed out after a bit. So if you're hanging out in that queue for too long in that corner, you're just kind of like, it's too pink, get me out of here. But then the ride is, we're not going to spoil it. We'll show you just a few seconds of what it looks like without spoiling much from the ride, of what it feels like to be in this elevator. But it's just got some cool mixture of practical effects. No 3D glasses necessary. The motion of it's really good.
Animatronics and screens. I mean, that one of those Death Eater animatronics, I was like, they got a dude just standing in this ride, like that guy. I thought that was a dude.
This is from their trailer. We did not record this.
We did not record this.
But they just do a good job, like blending the screen effects with practical animatronics in front of the screen. And then this dude, I believe you stay with him.
He kind of like follows your vehicle. He like moves.
He moves, and then he ends up like merging with some of the digital effects in other ways. And this is just one example. There's like probably a dozen different times Epic Universe as a whole will do things like this. And it's just really smart design. I prefer Monsters Unchained to this ride. I also prefer, I'm sorry, my friends at Universal, you did an amazing job on this ride. Just because the queue is in the middle of the ride of Rise of the Resistance, I think overall I appreciate the ride more of Rise of the Resistance more. But and then the ride of this, I think, is just a slight step beneath Rise of the Resistance, but I'm sure the effects of this are better. Rise of the Resistance has the animatronics are not nearly as good.
No, there's some really good animatronics in this. Yeah, I think the effect of just walking in the Ministry just beats the ride. Like it
beats the ride,
If you like the Harry Potter movies, it's impressive, and it really smacks you in the face, and you're like, dang, dude, this is great. And then you walk back out into 98-degree weather, and you're like, get me the hell out of here.
And I think there's also just something like a little Epcot-y in a good way.
Yeah.
Like when you go to Epcot, you do want to feel like you're in different cities from around the world. It is weird. Like, I think the impressive side of it is they built part of Paris. Your first sight isn't like they built a magical world.
Right.
So I think that is like my criticism.
Because you see this kind of like their version of like the Arc de Triomphe. Yeah. Not exactly that. They're not trying to make the Arc de Triomphe, but it's that. And it's cool when you walk through it, it looks kind of normal on one side, but when you turn back, it's like, oh, there's all these magical elements on the back. Like, that is fun. But yeah, the Ministry almost trumps, you're right, like what the rest of the land looks like.
Right. And I think what they accomplished so great with Hogsmeade and with Diagon Alley is the moment you walk into them, you know you're in a wizard world.
Yeah.
Like when you see the Castle of Hogwarts, you know where you are. When you're in Hogsmeade and you see Gringotts with the dragon on top of it and all these twisty storefronts.
Right.
Like,
that's more fun than just like Paris.
Yeah. It's just Paris. And it's beautiful and stunning and really well done. But you do have to like go up real close and you have to go into the nooks and the crannies
to find all the like the more magical elements. I agree with that. Yeah.
But it's still, it's like A+, guys. Yeah. Like, I can't have any notes beyond that.
It's
like,
really hard. How would you rank your 4 lands?
Okay, yeah. So, just in terms of overall experience, in terms of what I want to spend more than 8 hours in any one of these, like, there's so many ways you can value it. Do I just want to get a drink there and hang out? The rides, I think if I'm just baking in everything, my number 1 land would probably be Number one land would probably be Dark Universe.
Yeah.
I just think
Hell
that Darkmoor is such my vibe.
It's good.
And you have the ride, the food, and the characters, you know? I think it's my number one. My number two, I think Isle of Berk, just because it's my vibe, and your mileage may vary. Number three would be Super Nintendo World, only because the power band. You need that power band.
It did make it very fun.
It does make it very fun, but without it's also really cool looking, very expansive.
Yeah.
But I think I just prefer Isle of Berk a little bit more. It's because of that show and the meet and greet with Toothless. Just
so good.
Give it extra. And then I think the Harry Potter corner is I love it. It's just not as great as the other three. And that's just for me. And I think the Battle of the Ministry is an incredible feat of engineering. I just like the other three a little bit more.
I like that.
How about you?
I would go Dark Universe, easy at the top. I mean, it's so good. And all of this was during the day, what you saw here. The last Wednesday night was like the grand opening celebration. And we ran to each land at night because we wanted to see them all at night. And like Dark Universe at night, get out of here. So good.
Yeah.
Just so good.
There's video now of a rainstorm.
Oh, I
over
saw
the
that.
banner
There was
and
lightning in the background?
strike it. Yeah. Looks
Get
so
out
cool.
of here, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dark Universe would be my top. I really liked the Harry Potter area because
Yeah.
I like Paris a lot. Go to Paris, guys. It's great.
So that would be your number two?
That would be my number two.
Okay.
I would put Isle of Berk 3 and then Super Nintendo Land at 4. And again, this is all very tight. It's a tight race. And like I think Super Nintendo Land at night was very fun because you really see the color and the lights and the sounds.
It's much better at night.
It's much better at night.
Because when you go to Super Nintendo Land in the daytime, because the floor is bright green or white, it scorches your eyeballs.
And you get down in the pit and you're
It's
like,
just
get me out of here.
Get me out of here.
But at night, that place, it really be popping.
Yeah.
I was just impressed. I was really impressed as a big, theme park fan. Like, this is great. And it really shows, like, a lot of love and care went into these parks. They're really trying to do something. Yes, it's capitalism, folks. But, like, if this is how I'm going to spend my money, like, what a great, fun way to spend my money. Like, it was really fun. And I think if I was a kid, this would blow my mind out of my head.
Yeah, you kids are spoiled.
You don't know what you got.
You don't know what you got.
This will ruin your life because nothing will live up to this. You will peak at 9. You will peak at 9.
I know there are people who work at Disney who are probably like, fuck. Like,
this is great. I think a rising tide lifts all ships.
Yeah.
I love my WWE and I love AEW for making it better. You know what I mean? Like, we need the competition. I love to see it. You know what I mean?
Especially, but to truly compete with the quality of this, Disney has to build a completely new park.
Right.
That has all parts of it immersive. If you go to...
And they're going to make us go to Abu Dhabi to see it.
I know. You have to go out to even hotter temperatures.
I mean, we build a park in a cool area.
I'm someone who prefers the Anaheim parks to the Orlando parks.
Yeah, I do
Obviously,
like
I'm California biased, but you can walk Disneyland. The site of the castle kind of sucks compared to Cinderella's castle, but everyone says that, and I'd much rather take that than like a park that'll wear the feet off of the end of your legs for how much you have to walk around it and how much hotter it is in Orlando. But I think California Adventure is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I love the Radiator Springs area. I love Pixar Pier. Don't like Avengers Campus much, but there's room to improve.
Yeah.
And I think that is where Disney can really compete now. Is like if you can make a truly immersive X-Men themed Xavier Mansion.
Yeah.
That is how you can make an Xavier Mansion ride that rivals the Victoria Frankenstein experience.
I agree. Yeah, very impressive. I would recommend Epic Universe.
Yeah.
It's certainly worth checking out.
It's going to be crowded for a while, guys. That's the thing.
Well, it's been interesting. This first week, they kind of like limited crowd size a little. So if you got in those first couple of days, I think you're going to be all right. But they're starting to tick up. I've been watching the ride times on my app, and I'm like, oh, they're starting to get there.
And it'll be like that for a bit.
Yeah.
But, eventually make your way there. It's a very, very cool experience. I mean, now Universal is getting to the point to where it is a multi-day experience. And that was... one thing that Disney's been able to do for a long time is like get families to make a whole week out of it. Universal, between Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios for a while, you could just do in a day.
And they let us go to Volcano Bay, but we were not allowed to ride any rides.
Yeah, they didn't let us ride any slides.
As someone who's kind of grossed out by water parks now, I loved them as a kid. Now I'm a little grossed out by them. I was like intrigued by Volcano Bay. They have this giant volcano statue in the center with like a waterfall on it, and it looked very intense. Yeah, it's definitely a place you could spend a week. We should get to some of these other super chats real fast. Bro sending in another super chat asking, without spoiling any of the ride, what was your favorite part of Monsters Unchained? Also, you have an estimate of how long it is. I can't find any online. I'm going next week. I'm super excited. Don't watch a ride video.
Yeah, don't watch a ride video.
Please go on all these rides without watching them. My favorite part of Monsters Unchained might be, if they showed it in there, it's the Phantom reaching out to you. I thought that was so much fun. But also, Igor on that ride is hilarious.
Igor is super fun. Not all the parts of the ride were working for us. There's a specific part.
One ending part. We wrote it 3 times hoping to catch it, and it never worked.
It isn't working.
There's also a great moment when Frankenstein kind of like activates the machine, and there's a cool kind of like lightning effect. That's used on him that I thought was really cool. But that whole ride is bonkers.
There's one jump scare that really got me.
Okay,
and I don't want to say it, but
you might get a little damp at one point in the ride.
Yes.
That is kind of gross and very fun.
Yeah. How long is the ride? I don't know, 7 minutes?
I don't think it's 7 minutes.
You think it's shorter?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe 4 minutes?
It feels long, and there's good storytelling in it, but I would say 3 to 4 minutes would be my guess.
Okay.
Somewhere in there.
I think the
Watch it
Harry
be like
Potter
90 seconds.
Yeah,
but it's just like, it really slaps. Phillips sending in 100 bits on Twitch. First of all, I'm glad you guys had fun there. Secondly, with Hollywood's new trend of adapting video games into movies, do you think Spider-Man Brand New Day, with all the news and rumors regarding characters and casting, we might see Brand New Day adapting the PS4 Spider-Man game? In my opinion, it's the best Spider-Man story told across all media forms. Sony's got a hand in both pots there. I think they want to tell an original story without getting too much into it. But I would like to see, No Way Home did have like a fun way of bringing in multiple villains and telling that story. I would like to see something like that again, where we get a true Sinister Six.
Yeah.
And being able to kind of juggle all of that at once.
Yeah.
Would be really fun.
I think so. I think they might bring in the character of Mr. Negative, but I don't think they're going to bring in a huge story.
Christian Unpronounceable sending in a super chat reminding everyone watching to please like and subscribe. Thank you, Christian. Hopping over to YouTube to do that one. FYT, my guy. Come on. Jay Cake sending in a super chat. What rides are more for adults in Epic?
I think all of them are. It depends what type of adult you are.
Yeah.
None of the rides are like
Stardust Racers. If you're an intense roller coaster fan, I refuse to get on it. But from what I heard, like very intense, very cool. Yeah. Monsters Unchained. I would not put a little kid on there.
Yeah,
it would probably give him the heebie-jeebies.
But I think any kid in late elementary school or older.
Everyone we talked to, you might think like, oh, Hiccup's Wing Gliders. That sounds like a kid's ride. Everyone we talked to was like, that was a great ride.
Yeah,
that's a sleeper hit. That's a fun, fast, energetic ride that'll give you a thrill in your tummy.
Yeah.
I would say those were like the most, and even like Ministry of Magic ride. There was one part both of us were like, whoa, that almost made me nauseous.
Yeah, if you mean adult, like quick. The themes of it are more violent or spooky or just aggressive, then I would say both Monsters Unchained.
Because even the Wolfman roller coaster is like more adult, I guess you would say.
But I would say like you get too old. If you get over the age of 30, you're gonna start getting motion sickness. So it's just for like college age.
The most adult ride in the park is buying the park tickets. That's real life for you right there.
Paying the bill. Let's see. Angel Genorio asking, will you guys do a breakdown video of Ballerina or the John Wick movies?
Well, Ballerina's next week, right?
Yeah, I don't think we're planning on covering Ballerina. Maybe. Well, I mean, we'll see. I broke down the first John Wick on the Deep Dive channel. Yeah. But
last John Wick,
we broke down John Wick 4 on New Rockstars.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you can go find
20 minutes of a guy rolling down the stairs. That was crazy.
This is great.
Nona sending in a super chat saying, please do an assemble for your Doom's villain team. That's a good idea for an assemble.
Yeah.
Doom's villain team. Write that one down, Brian. Write it down. Write it down. Quentin Anthony Anderson asking, any reason NR isn't covering Rick and Morty anymore? Rick and Morty has started.
Yeah, I don't know. I just got... it's a lot of lore to keep up with, and it's getting pretty late in the show.
Sun's getting pretty low.
Sun's getting low,
big fella.
I don't know. I just haven't been keeping up with it, and I'm tired, man. Like, I don't want to watch another one of these shows that has, like... I'll probably get around to watching it. I'm just really tired.
I mean, there's the clamoring for us to break it down. We could go back and break it down. I think. But
We
I
could do a
think
full season breakdown or something.
Yeah,
but we're not going to cover it episode by episode.
We're gearing up for a really big July here. There's going to be a ton of stuff coming out. There's a lot of hot new shows coming out.
Look, to be honest, like covering every episode of a show week by week, you kind of have to like structure your entire content workflow around that. And it is, if you're just only going to be a channel that covers one show, great. You can make your whole week about that. But the way we analyze shows is that we have to like fill our entire minds and live in that world to see all the connections and the Easter eggs. And it's hard to do that for multiple shows at the same time. And you can burn out really fast. So we were doing that with Andor at the same time as The Last of Us, at the same time as Daredevil Born Again. And it really did just kind of break our brains for a little bit. So we need to just take a break from like covering a show week by week like that, because we know once we get into July, we're also going to be covering Ironheart. We're going to be covering Jurassic World. We're going to be covering Superman, Fantastic Four: First Steps, and then after that, Peacemaker, Alien Earth, maybe Welcome to Derry. And so we just need a break. And Rick and Morty is a show where the lore is dense.
Yeah, a lot of aliens.
And if we're trying to cover other news at the same time, we need to take a break from one of these shows and say no to one of these shows. So maybe we'll go back at the end of the season and do a video breaking down everything, but we are not covering it week to week.
W's Dawn of Pops asked on YouTube, will they use Doctor Doom as part of the story of Marvel Ultimate Alliance video game for Doomsday and progress to House of X and the Mutant Saga? I don't remember 100% his story in that video game. I do think they're going to try and tell an original story here, because I don't even think they're going to stick to much of what Secret Wars even looks like in the comics. We've talked about this a lot. Where like they like to use the names from comics, they like to use images from comics, but they love to change the story up and not be beholden to it, especially with like characters they have not even introduced in the MCU yet. Like, again, I don't know if we'll see Molecule Man. I think they will find something else to be Molecule Man. As far as like the House of X in the Mutant Saga, I'm wondering if they might pay off a little bit of that House of X in like Secret Wars. Use the Wanda they got now. I don't know how long. I mean, I would love Elizabeth Olsen to just play Agatha or Wanda as long as she wants. But I don't know how much she will be around when they really get into the Mutant Saga. You know what I mean? Yeah. I could see her character maybe taking a break after Secret Wars. Now, there's the rumors they want to do a Wanda Maximoff movie. What was it called? Bitch Be Damned or something like that?
I can't remember the name.
Some wild name some scooper said they were.
Bitch Be Damned.
That wasn't me. Some scooper said it would have some insane name like that. But like, I love Wanda. Make her evil again. Stop making her be nice. She's a mean lady. Let her be mean. She's angry. Everyone's lying to her. But I think as far as like a whole House of X saga, they won't do what they did in the comics because they need to establish the X-Men first. And like House of X would have to happen like way down the line.
That's what I'm saying. Like you can
10,
just do
15 years from now, if they want to wipe out the mutants, they'll do that then. But they're not going to do it for a while.
But that's what I'm saying. You don't need to do a mutant saga. You can just say mutants are in the MCU now, and this is just our forever era. There's so many great mutant stories. You don't have to even build up to them. You can just you have 8 great movies ready to go that you can do every other year.
Irish Warthog sending in 100 bits on Twitch asking, hey Brandon, I missed you. Missed you too. What's up, Nerd Muffins? Hey Erik. Love. Hey. Shamrock 100.
I think I
probably just did a code word.
I appreciate it. Guys, we have to run.
We gotta go.
But this has been awesome hanging out with you.
We will talk Mission Impossible. We're working on a breakdown for Final Reckoning.
Yes, we'll get to it. A lot to cover next week. Breakroom will be live again Monday afternoon. And we're going to see some special guests on the Breakroom in July. So keep an eye out. And we got a lot of great stuff coming this way.
We do. Best Mission Impossible movie is Rogue Nation. I stand by it.
Ghost Protocol. All right,
guys. Go. Bye.
Bye.